Can I follow my own rules and roles to draft the best team possible? Well, we'll just have to wait and find out. What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, the coach of your Miami Palafins, bringing you guys my draft analysis for season number 4 of the UNPL, my very first draft league taking part in the Indigo Disc DLC. I hope you guys are looking forward to this team as much as I am, because this was a lot of fun to draft. As for the team itself, just to jump right into things, first off, a few rules that I will be following for my draft. So first off, select the balance core. This basically just follows the premise of whatever team you start your team with. Try to make sure you have a good mix of physical, special attackers, stuff like that. Form a defensive core. You don't want to be going too offensive in nature, or else you're just going to get overwhelmed and you won't be able to react to certain threats, especially considering while Gen 9 is very offensive in nature, you don't want to get caught lacking defensively for any specific Pokemon. At least 2 strong priority options. Basically, this just allows you to have the ability to not get overwhelmed by setup sweepers. You don't want to get 6-0'd after a Pokemon goes for DD or Quiver Dance, whatever the case may be. At least 2 Stealth Rockers. You never want to get caught with only 1 Stealth Rocker, because it does limit your team significantly. Your opponent knows what your Stealth Rocker is going to be, and you really don't want to get caught in a situation where you're stuck having one Pokemon do one specific role and your opponent knows that. Spikes and Toxic Spikes, very crucial to try to get at least one of those things, just because entry hazard damage is so important to this team, and having the additional residual chip damage for your team is beneficial for you in the long run. At least 1 hazard removal in and of itself is not really that mandatory as far as I'm concerned, but it's always nice to have at least 1 way to remove hazards when push comes to shove, especially considering the fact that you don't really want to run heavy duty boots on everything, so it is nice to have the option to remove them via Rapid Spin or Defog or Core Change if you're looking to draft Cinderace. At least 2 Pokemon with a speed tier above base 110. This is basically just to ensure that Pokemon like the Lotties don't get out of hand, and you really don't want to get caught drafting a slow team, because even other faster wall breakers to deal with like Meowscarada, Weavile, they can easily run Adamant, or even modest wall breakers as well, like for this example, Jolteon or Spect Trier or stuff like that. You don't really want to give them the ability to run Modest over Timid, and then physical attacker, you don't really want to give them Adamant over Jolly. 1 wall breaker, just to have something on your team that can break past your opponent's defensive Pokemon. Just nice to have that in the back. At least 1 ground immunity, so that way you're not overwhelmed by Earthquake or stuff like Great Tusk, Landorus, Excadrill, the list goes on and on. 1 electric immunity, just to basically block Volt Switch, which is one of the best momentum grabbing moves in the game, and just having the way of blocking momentum is just really crucial to have. 1 bulky water. Bulky waters do have its various strengths and weaknesses, so it doesn't have to necessarily be fat, but just something in general, because water is one of the best typings both offensively and defensively, so it's really nice to have for any team in any team in particular. 1 grounded poison type, just to ensure your team does not get overwhelmed by Toxic Spikes, because you never want to get caught lacking in that sort of sense, especially in a situation where you're not really running 1 heavy duty boots and you really just want to ensure that Toxic Spikes doesn't become problematic for your team when it comes to building. 1 knockoff user, I say this at least 1 knockoff user, just because of the fact that item disruption is so important to have for draft league format, especially considering items like heavy duty boots is one of the more splashable items in draft league format, and having the ability to knock off those boots, get rid of your opponent's choice items, life orbs, etc. It really disrupts their strategy, and it really makes things easier for you, especially in conjunction with the hazard damage. You really want to make that damage stick and make things easier for you in the late game. And then lastly, we have a FWG and DSF core, which stands for Fire, Water, Grass, and Dragon, Steel, Fairy. Basically, sorry about that. Basically, you want to have the ability to have this specific core in mind, just so you have the best possible way of having both ways of dealing with your opponent's threats offensively and being able to react to your opponent defensively with these specific cores. Dragon Fairy Steel and Fire Water Grass makes up the vast majority, or the 2 most important or the most common cores that you're looking forward to seeing in draft league format. And the last thing that I did not mention here is that terrestrialization does not play a role in the team I ended up drafting, just because of the fact that I only want to use Terra as a means to be a bit more offensively inclined. Defensively will also just come with the caveat and make things easier for me in the long run. So with that being said, let's jump right into the team. So with the UNPL in and of itself, we have 115 points to draft between 10 and 12 Pokemon, and then after that we have a 18-point Terra budget to use for at least 2 to 3 Pokemon to act as Terra Captains, and those Terra Captains can have one typing be their stab, and then 2 other typings as well, and we also have access to Stellar typing on top of that. So I've already rambled on long enough for you guys, so let's start with the team I ended up picking for the UNPL. So with my round 1 pick, I finally get to use this Pokemon, mainly because it was either banned or I passed it over. So we finally got the mascot. We have Palafin on our team, one of the best hard-hitting Pokemon in Draft League format. 100 base speed, but 160 base attack. Strong priority in Jet Punch, and it's just overall a fantastic Pokemon in general. Never go wrong with a Pokemon like this. I hated facing this thing because it was just a massive pain in the butt to deal with. And also brought my team, like I said, priority with Jet Punch, momentum with Flip Turn, and just a hard-hitting attacker overall. You can never go wrong with a Pokemon as strong as Palafin. And the only downside that comes to Palafin is the fact that it is hindered by the fact that in order to activate to get the full potential out of Palafin, you are stuck with having to switch out Palafin in order to activate to get it from Zero form into Hero form, which isn't that big of a threat to deal with. I can just lead off with this and just switch it right back out and then get my Hero form right away. As you can see, it did cost me 20 points though, so I'm already limiting myself in the points department, but I decided with the next few picks to start getting some utility mons to pair up with Palafin. So next up, round number 2, we got Iron Tread, so another Pokemon that I really wanted to draft, but never got the opportunity to use because it always got sniped. So I finally got it here. Iron Tread provides my team with so much utility right away. Steel and ground typing is fantastic, being a fairy resist and electric immunity for the team. I have a Stealth Rocker, I have a Rapid Spinner, so I have removal right then and there. I get more momentum with Volt Switch, I have Item Disruption and Knockoff. And overall, it's just a fantastic utility mon in general. And I really just like the versatility that Iron Tread provides me, giving me, like I said, giving me rocks, giving me hazard removal, giving me item disruption, and giving me a steel, a fairy resist, and more importantly, giving me an electric immunity on top of that. So yeah, really can't go wrong with Iron Treads in this on this sort of team, especially considering that it does provide me with some needed roles early on in the draft. And then round number 3, we got Necrozma. Necrozma was probably by far the most valued pick on the entire draft board. I could not believe Necrozma was 13 points when I saw it, and I had to snag it up round 3. Just because while Necrozma does not get access to Rock Polish or Autotomize like in the previous generation, it doesn't matter because Necrozma can provide so many things for a team. It gives me another Stealth Rocker, so that's 1. 2, Item Disruption, a second knockoff user. So that's 2. 3, it's a fantastic setup sweeper. While it doesn't have access to Rock Polish or Autotomize like I mentioned, it can still do Calm Mind, it can still do SD, it can still do Dragon Dance. The list goes on, and on top of that, having a signature move like Photon Geyser can be physical or special depending on how it's EV'd, and the boon on top of that, being able to ignore abilities, so I never have to worry about I can Photon Geyser freely against unaware users. So beautiful in a Pokemon like Necrozma. So this was basically the one mon. This was one of the top 3 mons I had my eye on using again in when the DLC 2 came out, and I was so happy to snag this thing up. So yeah, definitely looking for Necrozma to put in some work for my team. Next up, round 4, we got another Pokemon that I've never used before in Draft League format, but I've hated facing it, and that's Spect Trier. The last time I faced a Spect Trier, I got swept by Choice Scarf, but that's my own fault. But that's neither here nor there. So Spect Trier provides my team with a ghost type, so I have Rapid Spin, the ability to block Rapid Spin. Secondly, it provides my team with a speed tier above base 110 at 135. On top of that, a strong special attacker, the Dark and normal type Pokemon that can give Spect Trier trouble. I do have ways of dealing with it. I have strong hitting attackers between Palafin, Necrozma, and I can chip it down with Iron Treads as well. But Spect Trier is a fantastic sweeper. It gives me a great speed tier, and on top of that, it can also do stuff like Nasty Plot, Calm Mind, Will-O-Wisp to cripple those physical attackers. So yeah, a hard-hitting, fast Pokemon, and on top of that, having the ability in Gribnay to increase the special attack every time it knocks the Pokemon out. Yeah, this thing can do some serious damage to in a late game scenario, so making it a formidable late game cleaner if the situation does call for it. So yeah, definitely looking forward to trying Spect Trier out for sure. Round 5, snagged up Glamora. Glamora, also another fantastic Pokemon. Used it before in the PBA, and I absolutely love this thing. So first off, provides my team first of all with a grounded poison type, so I never have to worry about Toxic Spikes being an issue against my team. I have a third Stealth Rocker, I have Spikes, I have Toxic Spikes, another form of removal with Mortal Spin, and on top of that, I also have the ability with Toxic Debris to set up Toxic Spikes. And Toxic Spikes, in conjunction with Spect Trier, which also gets access to Hex, can also rack up some significant damage on the team. But other than that though, having a rock, giving me the rock and poison type Pokemon, a grounded poison for the most part, Glamora checks all the boxes that I was looking for in a Pokemon. Having the ability to have not only a third Spiker if I want to do a hyper offensive role with this thing, I can also do Choice Scarf because it is a formidable Scarfer with a respectable base 86 speed tier. But again, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, removal, the list goes on and on. It's a formidable special attacker, one of the best remover setters in the Draft League format, and I'm definitely happy to use this thing again here in the UNPL for sure. Then we have our round 6 Pokemon in Hydral, one of the new Pokemon from the Indigo Disc. Basically, Hydral provides my team with a Grass and Dragon type. It also provides, but the main thing Hydral does help me out with is it gives my team a Ground Resist, which I didn't really have with my first 5 picks, and 2 of my Pokemon were weak to ground in Treads and Glamora. So having a Ground Resist is also very nice. It provides my team with another Water Resist, so I don't have to rely on Palafin. But the main boon with Hydral is the fact that it's a hard-hitting, tanky Pokemon that can be run both physically defensive, specially defensive, and of course Regenerate is one of the best defensive abilities in the entire game, recuperating 1/3 of Hydral's HP whenever it switches out. So yeah, a very, very formidable Pokemon to have. It's sort of, in my estimation, it sort of feels like the new Tangrowth of Generation 9, if anything. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying out Hydral for the first time, especially considering that it does have a lot of boons for my team, as I already mentioned, with the Ground Resist, the Water Resist, and the ability to be run both physically defensive, specially defensive, or it can be run offensively with like Choice Specs or even Nasty Plot, and then of course it gets reliable recovery with Recover. So who says no to a Pokemon like that? So that is Hydral. Next up, round 7. Needed a Fairy type immediately, so snagged up Sylveon for 12 points. This completes my Dragon Steel Fairy core very, very nicely, providing me with, like I said, I needed Fairy type. It gives my team Wish support, which I didn't really talk about in the roles, because usually Wish support sort of just comes along with the team as opposed to being a mandatory role, in my opinion. But Sylveon is still a good defensive Pokemon, being a Fairy type, so it provides my team with another Fighting Resist, a Bug Resist, a Dark Resist. So yeah, and of course a Dragon Immunity on top of that. But aside from being defensive, it can also be offensive. Provides my team with another form of momentum, as Baton Pass is allowed, as long as you're not passing stats along while you're trying to Baton Pass. So that's basically the main thing about Baton Passing, but it's still a fantastic Pokemon. Good defensively, even solid as a more offensive Pokemon like Choice Specs. Pixelate boosted Hyper Voices hurt a lot. Coming from a Pokemon like Sylveon, base 110 special attack with Pixelate. Definitely looking to try to bring that set for sure if the situation does call for it. So yeah, Sylveon, definitely a needed Pokemon, and really happy to have this thing on my team for sure, as it does fulfill the role of a Fairy type as well as being a needed resist with stuff like dragons and darts, and even the Bug Resist is very, very crucial, nice to have. So as you can see, I have spent my points very, very rashly, but I did not neglect the utility Pokemon that I am missing for my draft. I only have 12 points left, and I am drafting 4 more Pokemon with this team. So round 8, snagged up Oricorio. Now this is a different Oricorio. I do not have access to all forms of Oricorio on this team. Specifically, I have Oricorio Bile, which is the fire flying Oricorio. Does fulfill some roles on my team. I did not have a fire type. More importantly, I didn't have a flying type, so I have a ground immunity, which is great. And on top of that, I also get access to, in conjunction with Terrestrialization, which I'll get into at the end, Oricorio is a formidable Pokemon, especially considering that Quiver Dance with Revelation Dance is one of the more formidable combinations of Pokemon in draft league format. It's definitely good for a low tier budget of only being 5 points, and it fills needed roles for my team. As I mentioned, the mandatory ground resist, and emergency if I really want to bring defog, but considering the fact that this team already has Treads and Glamora, the odds of me bringing defog or Oricorio is pretty much non-existent. So if anything, Oricorio will be filling the role of a sort of sweeper with Quiver Dance sets with like Revelation Dance, Hurricanes, and the like. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And even without Terrestrialization, Fire and Flying is resisted by rock types. I have Palafin, I have Treads, I have Hydral, Earth Power Glamora. The list goes on and on. I'm good against rock types. I'm not really fearing that thing whatsoever. So 7 points left for 3 more Pokemon. So with 5 points, I have picked up Alolan Persian. Alolan Persian provides my team with a Dark type, which I did not have. So I have a Psychic Immunity, a Ghost Resist, and on top of that, I have my second Pokemon faster than base 110 speed, aside from just having Spect Trier. Alolan Persian is also fantastic in terms of just being a great utility mon with access to stuff like U-turn for momentum. Parting Shot is also fantastic to allow us to set up Pokemon a bit easier time. And then again, more item disruption because it does get access to knockoff, foul play to just away physical setup sweepers on top of that, and can function somewhat as a nasty plot sweeper if the situation does call for it and the matchup does look good. So despite its low offenses, the speed, the utility, Parting Shot support, Psychic Immunity, Ghost Resist, very, very fantastic Pokemon to have for a low budget of 5 points. And yeah, we're looking forward to using it for sure, especially considering that it fulfills some needed roles on my draft. So now we get down to the nitty gritty here. 2 points left, 2 Pokemon left. So yeah, I'm drafting 2 1-point mons, but they do fit roles on my team. First off, round number 10, we got the baby eel, we got Electric on the squad. Electric is so cool, as I've used Electros in PBA, and Electros did not disappoint. It was a fantastic tank, a great slow pivot, and while Electric doesn't have access to stuff like Flamethrower that Electros does, Electric still has access to other cool moves. It still has access to Knockoff, it still has access to Dragon Tail, it still has access to Discharge. And more importantly, it's electric type, but the electric type doesn't really need to terrestrialize or anything because it already has no weaknesses aside from like mold breaker stuff. But regardless, outside of that though, Baby Eel is just going to be so cool. And it was one of the Pokemon I was really looking for trying out, just because like it's a good bulky pivot, and for the most part between knockoff, U-turn for momentum, Volt Switch, disruption with knockoff, Super Fang to get Pokemon low enough, Discharge for paralysis support. It has a lot of utility despite being 1 point, and it may be looked at as being weak, but the main thing with Electric is it's not meant to do damage, it's meant to be support. And that's the best thing about Electric here. It basically fulfills more added support for my draft. So yeah, definitely looking forward to using Electric here, especially if Electros was any indication. Electric definitely won't disappoint, especially considering it was only 1 point. Like, who says no to Baby Eel like that? Like, it's just a good low budget mon, like, for sure, for 1 point, so I couldn't pass that up. And then lastly, we have even more low tier 1 point support with my round 11 pick, and that Pokemon just so happens to be Baby Pignite. Yes, we're going to make our opponents go pick Night with this squad. So yeah, pick Night, while it looks a little bit iffy, doesn't really make sense in the eyes of the beholder, but pick Night does fulfill certain roles. While it does give me a second fire type with Oricorio, it doesn't matter because pick Night also provides my team with a fighting type, which I also did not have. On top of that though, it also does get access to item disruption. Pick Night gets knockoff, it gets Drain Punch. So yeah, having the ability to recover health with Drain Punch, be another item disruptor. So this is like my fourth. I'm pretty sure this is my fourth or no, this is my fifth Pokemon with knockoff. So yeah, I have item disruption in conjunction with Stealth Rock from either Treads, Necrozma, Glamora, and Spikes from Glamora, Toxic Spikes from Glamora, and then item disruption with knockoff, Drain Punch for recovery, and then of course it has one of the best defensive abilities in the game with Thick Fat, taking even less damage from fire and ice type attacks, which it already resists. So on top of that, if I ever go over against a team that's rocking against a Chi-Yu, best believe Pick Knight's going to be coming and it's going to be looking to do some damage. So other than that though, onto the Terra captains for this squad. While I didn't really specify it on the graphics, my Terra captains for this team, with my 18-point Terra budget, it's going to be Glamora, which can terrestrialize into either a poison, flying, or fairy type, Oricorio Bylane, which can terrestrialize into either a flying, ground, or water type, and my third Terra captain is going to be Pick Knight, which can terrestrialize into either a fighting, fairy, or water type. So, did I successfully fill out all my roles with this team? No. And I say no wholeheartedly just because of the fact that I only really drafted one strong priority option. The odds of me actually thinking about Quick Attack Sylveon is kind of meh. It could still be brought if I really wanted to, but aside from that though, the priority is a bit lacking outside of Palafin, but it is made up for on this team because I do have the ability to at least have additional speed control, because I do have paralysis support with electric for the most part, and I believe something else on this team gets done away, but it's not really clicking in my head at this point. But yeah, that aside, this is a team I'm going to be rocking with for season 4 of the UNPL. Really looking forward to trying out this squad for sure. Has a bunch of new mods I'm looking forward to trying out. Week 1 will be going up on either Saturday or Sunday. I'm still trying to figure that out. Probably will be going up on Sunday. But yeah, that's my team for this draft analysis. Hope you guys enjoyed the team. Let me know, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about the squad and what you're looking forward to the most from this team. Me personally, I'm finally in to use Palafin for the very first time. I'm finally in to try out the mascot. And hopefully we're looking to do some damage, man, because Tua Palabailoa is definitely looking to put in some work for me, that's for sure. And I'm also looking forward to trying out Pick Knight at least one time. I want to use this thing at least once. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.